Today, in the media conference with Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Karu News, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Gyan and Organ Donation India Foundation. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. But today, being a thought leadership series, first we will talk about the top thought leadership series. And crisis moments create opportunity. Problems and crises ignite our greatest creativity and thought leadership as it forces us to focus on things outside the norm. Thought leadership is fundamental in business today and consists primarily of finding and sharing great information in a way that attracts and retains. Thought leadership is when a leader's thoughts are being used by leaders to lead others. Thought leadership is influencing a narrative by understanding what needs to be done. Thought leadership is the expression of ideas that demonstrate you have expertise in a particular field, area, or topic. A thought leader can be recognized as an authority in a specific field and whose expertise is sought and often rewarded. That can be an expert, a historical figure, or a wise person with worldly impact. Many strive to become a thought leader in their respective fields. It takes dedication, patience, strategy, and education. In this series, we will be asking straight questions and we expect a straight answer from our thought leader. And today, our topic is entrepreneurship, myths and facts. And our thought leader of today's program is Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Welcome, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran on our show. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran is the former visiting professor IIM Lucknow and University of Texas at Dallas, USA. He is the senior director of Don Bosco Group, Bengaluru. He is the founder of Dr. Saran Consultancy, California, USA. He is the director of Aldo Private Limited, New Delhi. He has done his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad in 1980. He did PhD in 1986. He started teaching and researching business and entrepreneurship since 1984. He published research papers in reputed journals, international seminar proceedings, and chapters in books of readings. He started academic administration phase as dean in 1997, rising to executive director, controlling management and engineering institutes in 2007. Her Highness Governor of Karnataka nominated Dr. Saran to the Senate of Bangalore University in recognition of his distinguished academic contributions. He was visiting professor to University of Texas at Dallas from 2012 to 2019. He also visited Washington State University and President University Indonesia on the invitation of the Dean Faculty of Business in 2018. He innovated and implemented a unique model to double the turnover with existing infrastructure in one accounting year. He is co-promoter of Institute of Family Business Management Society. He is the honorary director of NCR Delhi-based high-tech B2B digital startup. He is also co-founder of OWGI Foundation, which promotes social entrepreneurship ventures. Welcome, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran on our show. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, you are, apart from your other qualification, your experience, your expertise, you are also a co-founder of OWGI Foundation, which promotes social entrepreneurship ventures. While today our topic is entrepreneurship myths and facts. So, and you know, this is a thought leadership program. Here we go directly on the question, straight question, and I expect straight answers from you. So I am going to start with the first question to you. Are entrepreneurs born or made? Please unmute.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. I'm very privileged and honored to be here with you today. I hope our interaction for the next 90 minutes will be valuable to our viewers and listeners, those who are seeing us live and those who would see us on recording. With that said, this should be one of the very important thought leadership programs. Since we decided, I have been preparing, and I will try to give you as straight an answer as can be made of a complex topic. Complex topics resemble a sweet which I'm very fond of. It is called Imirtis. And in this part of the country, they know it by another name, Jhangri. With this light-humored introduction, I come to your main question in right earnest, in all seriousness. Are entrepreneurs born or made? There are evidences to say they are born, and there is evidence that they are made. And therefore, the straight answer is both. Now, there is a tragedy involved here. If they are made, then there is somebody who is making them. Last time we had a discussion in one of our programs of 3 types of education: formal education, informal education, and non-formal education. This thought leadership series of mine, at the breakfast table, I was telling my dear niece, is special because it is connecting many of the other programs that we have done together on media conference with Lal Goel. This one, for example. So if they are born, then the only education they are receiving is from the non-formal system, and some of it from the non-formal system. Life is a great school for learning. So when the first Birlaji decided to start a trading business in the 19th century, he did not get an MBA in entrepreneurship and new venture creation. After getting education up to class 4, he jumped into it. Those are the examples of entrepreneurs who have been born. These are the ones we say when we look at those examples. Entrepreneurs are born. Take your own example. You decided in your early teens, mid-teens, so to say, that your career will be wealth creation. So you will be named as a born business person, born entrepreneur. Now, the second part, and that is where I said there is something tragic here. In India, we have an institute which is dedicated to making entrepreneurs. It is in the western part of the country. I won't name the location for the reasons of nicety and sophistication. Their track record is, after 2 years of postgraduate education in how to create a business, run a business, their success rate, that is, out of 100 students, only 10 to 12 manage to start a business and run it. And less than 10% of them are successful. Whereas The same thing happens in all other things, and today there is a rush for imparting such education which can take credit for making entrepreneurs. They have not been successful, just one exception in there, and that is the United States of America. And they call themselves a college, though actually they are a university. Now their success rate is just reverse of this institute, which I mentioned is in Western India. They create 80% of their alumni and they become who is who. Some of them have been true entrepreneurs. They started an industry. This part, types of entrepreneurs, I'm sure you will have some questions. I'll come to that. So in conclusion, to some extent, it is true that entrepreneurs are born. And to a large extent, they are made. There are today more made entrepreneurs than born entrepreneurs if we take proportion of the two in the total population of entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Saran, for giving the reply of my first question. Now my question comes this entrepreneurship. Whenever we talk about entrepreneurship, and you have given the example of late Shri G.D. Birla, you mentioned about how he started as a trading thing. And we know that he was not as you mentioned, fourth class. And we have seen in India, many of the entrepreneurs, not only in India, abroad also, they have not, they have not studied properly or they were not at all good in studies, but still they have made their names all over the world in the business and they've created the business empire. Now my question is whether the education is required or not. If required, what type of education is required? Because as you mentioned about that one institute, although you have decided not to name and shame it, but shame so you have done, but not you have not named it. But we know that there are IIMs which are imparting the education, but are they making the entrepreneurs? And the emphasis nowadays of the present government is to make the entrepreneurs so that they can create jobs. So they will be becoming like job creators. But what we are seeing is that the education in India, now the question to you is whether this, because if I will be speaking, but I think it's better that you answer it, that the education is required to be a successful entrepreneur or not?
Answer in one word is yes, emphatically, very much education is required. That there should be no doubt that every successful business person, every successful, noticeable, admired entrepreneur needs education. Without it, it is impossible to be an entrepreneur. So I want to be very clear to every viewer, live or who will listen to recording, that answer to your question, it is important. And this is where the myth versus fact thing becomes so important in our title. Education, not the myth of education, not illusion of education, not appearance of education, but proper, genuine education. So the question comes now, what is a genuine education? It is very simple for me to answer. It may be a little difficult for people to grasp. Let me try. You were 5-year-old and you saw a urchin, poor man's son, near the pond, and he was catching fish. You were from well-to-do family. You purchased the fish. You will not become a fisherman. So many of us take education ready-made form and become job seekers. The entrepreneurs are the people who are like that boy who learns fishing by observing his elders. He says, okay, there's a fishing line. Then he finds that there is a worm which put on the fishing hook. Then he observes these are the kind of parts of the pond where fishes hide. And then he puts his line there and catches fish in 1 hour, 3, 4, enough for the family, and comes home. This kind of education is required, and this is what the entrepreneurs do. If it is available ready-made from family members, so far so good. If there is family business to learn from, like second generation and third generation and fourth generation of builders learned it that way. But the very first generation, the true entrepreneurs, the ones who started the new venture, who are creators of a industry, these are the people who get true education by their own effort. They observe, they analyze, they understand, they do it. So formal education is no limitation for these people. And therefore, I hope my answer now is clear in entirety, that anyone who wants to be entrepreneur, fail-proof entrepreneur, then he or she must put a premium on educating himself or herself. Without that, it is guaranteed they will fail. And it is tragic that out of 100 people who start a new venture, 90 of them fail. I don't know why it is. I hope after today's media conference with Lal Goel, this thought leadership, that ratio will be brought down. As you mentioned in the introduction, I was introduced to entrepreneurship in the year 1984. In 2 years' time, it will be 40 years. This is where I have come. It is criminal to start a business without enough preparation so that it fails and destroys capital. A strong words, but I have reason to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saran. But Professor Saran, you mentioned about the first generation entrepreneurs. Definitely the first generation entrepreneur have some unique ideas for that. That's why they want to enter in the business, because they are not a family business where they are just following what the family is doing. So do you think that these types of, and you mentioned about the startups, how they are failing in India. So either the fault lies with those unique ideas, which they have just assumed, or they have thought that why not we do this and try this. That is the reason, or the formal education or the education in that particular field is lacking for them. Or thirdly, that guidance, like we have seen the family business, the guidance which their seniors, the mentors have given is lacking. So my question to you is that business which are coming nowadays with a definitely a unique idea, because it's a startup with a unique idea, the failure rate is far, far more than the success rate. So what is the reason that entrepreneurs are now either not formally trained or formally educated, or lack of, because there is no experience, they are the first generation, and the lack of guidance from the seniors?
So which part you want me to answer first?
I want all the three as
part?
per your choice with the serial. So whichever you want to give the priority.
Okay. So the first generation entrepreneurs, the assertion that they have to come with unique idea is actually less fact and more myth. In other words, if I look at 100 first generation entrepreneurs, only 15, 18 of them will have come with unique idea and become successful. And 88 of them will have come from an idea which already exists. Suppose you want to start a business in burger field, fast food field. So paratha chutney is a fast food in India. Sandwich is a fast food in India. Pav bhaji is fast food in India. Vada pav is fast food in India. And can you count the number of such entrepreneurs? A small or large, that is separate. That's on the capacity of the entrepreneur to scale it up. So first part of your question is very interesting, and that is, it is not mandatory for success that first generation entrepreneurs come with unique ideas. And many a time life is very surprising and complex. That's where this unique idea myth takes birth. And that is, the person who copies my idea, and if he has more business acumen, will have earned more profit, much more profit. He'll become a crorepati. And I, who invented the idea, I am the creative person. I have the maximum of entrepreneurship capacity. I will have much less profit. Maybe I have failed in running a business. So these are two aspects to be mastered to be a successful venture creator. I must be a good one to respect ideas, recognize ideas, and I must be very good at building organizations which will capture the soul of the idea and grow it. These are beautiful things. We will talk more of this in different parts today. But this is the beautiful thing. That is what I want to say. The second part was the successive generations. We will talk of that in separate questions as they come along.
Okay, thank you. Now, we have seen the entrepreneurs, the new entrepreneurs, when we are talking, those who are venturing in the business. Many times they trust on their instincts.
Many times?
They trust on their instincts. Instincts.
Yes, yes.
So what will happen if entrepreneurs only trusted their instincts instead of knowing the ground realities? They feel, oh, this is something new I should do, without seeing the market conditions, seeing the all the conditions, how they are going to market this thing and how they are going to earn money and what will be the return. What you say about this?
This is very beautiful question. Thank you for asking me. I love this question. Be ready to understand the polished answer that we are going to produce now. If you are the kind of person, Mr. Goel, who taught yourself how to start a contract business for railways, so you learned through making mistakes. Like Thomas Alva Edison, he almost lost all his wealth while investing the incandescent light. Now, if somebody comes and tells you something related to contract business in railways, you will trust your instinct because you have earned it. The confidence has been created over thousands of trials and errors. If your manager comes and says, let us change our bid, what will you say? Do as I tell you. I know what I am thinking. Okay? But today, the thing is, the world has come so much ahead. Technology has advanced so much. After pandemic, human beings have changed, Mr. Goel. My priority now is to give more time to my family first, and then spend time for earning more money, more money. Earlier, I wanted more fame, more research paper published. Even if annual function of the school for my son was there, I asked my wife, please attend. I will just work on my research. After pandemic, that has changed. And therefore, for today, the question becomes beautiful precisely because of this reason, that I have to draw a wise balance, not just a balance, a wise balance every day. What part of manager's suggestion is valuable and improving my intuition? only intuition or depending on advice is not the way to go. Therefore, today, the entrepreneur's responsibility, the entrepreneur's challenge is far, far more than it was even 5 to 10 years ago. What I'll suggest is, as an entrepreneur, develop the soft skill. We had a workshop with a respected lady from USA. And in that soft skill, we did mention what are the skills needed for career success. If the career is entrepreneurship, we must play that recording with that lady and come to the conclusion. And conclusion is balance your soft skills with your analytical skill. Only then you will be able to match or meet competition. Otherwise, competition will drive you out and you will be pathetic. That is my answer to this beautiful question you asked.
Thank you, Dr. Saran. You mentioned about soft skills. So my next question is soft skill is must for a successful entrepreneur or not?
My answer is yes, yes, yes. Without a soft skill, the kind we discussed in that program, it is only a matter of time before you will destroy the venture. You will fall flat on your face as a businessman. Some people who doubt me, let them be reminded. There is a saying in the business world. When I teach entrepreneurship, I begin with this quotation. It is an English language quotation from America. So it uses American English. It says, from shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 4 generations. So what Mr. Goel happens is, you start the business. When you started, you were, very poor man, so to say. Then you made a success. Your next generation and next generation grew it. 4th generation came, your son, grandson, and great-grandson. Great-grandson, if he has not heard us, if he does not develop the soft skills which the previous 3 generations mastered and tried to teach, but you discounted, you were blinded by the wealth and the glory which is there in the business, you will drive it down back to the shirt sleeve stage. Shirt sleeve. So that is how critical it is. And thank you for asking. We get a chance to tell our viewers, please, please pay very high attention to develop all these soft skills which are needed to become an entrepreneur, to remain an entrepreneur.
Now, supplementary to this is, suppose one entrepreneur is very good with hard skills, not with the soft skills. So as an expert, will you suggest that that person should either have a team or at least 1 or 2 more persons who are expert in soft skill, and that then only he should venture for entrepreneurship, not alone, because he's not having a good knowledge of soft, he's not proficient in soft skills, his communication skills are not that good, marketing skills, he can't speak properly, but he's very good as far as the technicalities of the thing is required. So what do you say about that?
Again, very beautiful question, Mr. Goel. The hard skill and soft skill, both of them are needed 100% and 100%. This is the 200% issue. The person, you yourself needed to understand the nitty gritty of hard skill, that is contracting. You taught yourself 100%. Only then you commanded the respect of the engineer to whom you submitted your bids. Otherwise, he will not. If you wanted to hire a person who will do this one, then you know what? You will need the soft skill to tell your employee how to talk to the engineer. So to know something of the hard skill is very important to be successful as an entrepreneur. And the soft skill to teach another human being. So he is motivated. He wants to learn from you. The desire to learn from you, to be serviceable to you, I mean, obedient to you. This comes from the soft skill. So both are needed in 100%, 100%. Unfortunately, many people don't know it, so they don't tell it. I'm looking at the clock. It is 11 o'clock, few minutes. This is the most important time in our conversation today. Let every viewer, गांठ बांध ले, जेब में रख ले, that if you ever want to be entrepreneur, then it is not a trade-off between more hard skill and less soft skill, or more soft skill, hard skill to be successful. No. This breed of genuine wealth creator, the true entrepreneurs, are the people who can win the hearts of the other people. That degree of soft skill, they have 100%. And hard skills, they know the technical details. They are not engineers by training, but they know more engineering than engineers with BTech, MTech, PhD will know. I hope you agree with me. You are a businessman. You can tell whether my answer is right or not.
Yeah, of course, because we have seen many times that a person, one has to learn and one has to explain. If you cannot convince one person, you cannot convince the others, and that then it's a chain. You have to convince someone, and that for that you require soft skills. You rightly said. Thank you very much, Dr. Saran. Now my question to you is whether these entrepreneurs, when we are talking of the entrepreneurs, must be young and restless, they have a fire in the belly, or they are satisfied, they say that this is a unique idea which we have, we will try. Many times we have seen, and I from my personal opinion is that we have seen and as you mentioned, about more than 90% startups are failing because without doing proper homework, without seeing what is going to happen, they come with a rush because they feel that this idea is something which no one others should come back before them. And they, in that rush, in that hurry, they forget to do the groundwork, all those things ready. So, but because they have a fire in the belly, they are young, they can take risks because they have heard that no risk, no business. So they want to be a successful entrepreneur. Do you think is this a criteria that you have to be young and fire in belly or restless to become a successful entrepreneur or not?
There is always a glamour. Like in movie, there are heroes and heroines. So in the world of business also, there is a lot of glamour. For example, Steve Jobs or Henry Ford, they're very young people. They were very restless. And they came up with a unique idea. And they started a whole sector in the economy. They were the pioneers in that sense. If I look at that, I will say, yes, Mr. Goel, entrepreneurs should be young and must have fire in the belly. They must be restless. But I'm not doing service to the entire community of entrepreneurs by saying that one, because I'm nurturing a myth by overlooking fact. And fact is, a fast food organization, which is multinational, it is called Kentucky Fried Chicken. And as it will be, it was started by a man who was all his life a employee, and suddenly after retirement he decides he has fire in the belly, he is restless, though he is not a young man. So as long as you are restless, you have fire in the belly, it does not matter what your age in years is. A certain threshold of maturity is needed. That can come early, as it came in your case, and it can come late, as it came in the belly of the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now, you also connected the failure rate thing. And this is where I think somebody in IIMs or other places where they are promoting entrepreneurship, they should pursue a research work, genuine research work. You did ask this one, and there is no definite answer. What are the reasons why more young people fail, or we don't know what percentage of older people fail? We don't also know whether having a family business background helps in reducing the percentage of failures. Those are dark areas. I am not able to give you a straight answer because it is a dark room. I can't see the facts there. So everything is undecided there. But that points to the fact that we need to do more research, sincere research, to learn more about the unanswered questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your very honest answer to the question. Without mincing the words, you mentioned very clearly that more research is required. Now, you mentioned about the family business. We have seen in the family businesses, the young, when it's a third or fourth or second generation business, the young generation, when they come with the fire in belly, many times it was found that they are not successful. I can give the example of House of Lucy, which was one of the top company. Still, it is top company, but those the family which started is nowhere now. They are not at all connected with the House of Lucy. It's been taken over for the outsiders. Even we see the case of Ambani's Reliance. Two sons of Dhirubhai Ambani, both have fire in belly. One very, very successful, we all know, Mukesh Ambani. The other could not succeed with the fire in belly also. So do you think that this is also one of the factors that somewhere the success or the failure rate, even in the business second or third generation, when the new one comes with the new ideas to improvise or to expand the business which their forefathers have created, sometimes succeeds, sometimes fails. Although they have all the things in tech, they have the something to follow. They are not going to come out with something new thing because they have everything set up. Only thing, the ideas are new. So do you think the entrepreneur, a new entrepreneur, or even a entrepreneur in a family business, the young generation who wants to be entrepreneur has to learn to be in line with the business, family business, or with the new business, which is more difficult according to you?
This again is a very significant question, and let us give it due respect. When you start a business, Mr. Goel, you know the amount of dedication it demanded from you to master the hard skills and to master the soft skill, so that you have the satisfaction that it is a profitable business. If I am creating a social enterprise, then I want to make sure I know the hard skills and the soft skills so necessary that it will create a sufficient revenue to meet all its expenses every year. It will not create surplus, so it will not create profit, but it will create revenue. It must create revenue sufficient enough to meet the expenses. Otherwise, what will happen is, even the richest man, Rockefeller, when he created Rockefeller Foundation, if his social enterprise, Rockefeller Trust, is not meeting the principle which I just laid down, it will become bankrupt. They'll have to close the organization. So principle remains same. The formula only gets adjusted here, whether it is, family business for profit or family social enterprise. applies to Bill Gates Foundation, applies to Warren Buffett Foundation, everybody, Tata Foundation, Birla Foundation, it applies equally. No exceptions are there. Having said this, you pointed to one son failing miserably. He started as a billionaire. Today he has absolutely nothing. He's neck deep in loans. Now, why it happens is very strange. And in my introduction, you did mention I am one of the founders of Family Business Management Institute, Jaipur. The year I did not mention, I was running a all-girls campus for the first time in life. By design, I wanted to learn how to run a MBA institution. And in my work life, 23 years of work life, I never had run a all-girls campus. And I had a suspicion that it will present very unique challenges in terms of hard skills and soft skills required. In that period, the research which I did, I found that the women entrepreneurs are doing very, very different kind of a struggle than the men entrepreneurs are doing. But then even in men entrepreneurs, you see in your own case, there might have been cases when your business decisions were influenced by what Mrs. Goel took a position to. So bringing this aspect into this one, you know who married the younger son of the Ambani. You know the history of it. When I did the research on family businesses, I discovered many gems. And one of them was in succession planning, we must follow the golden principle which Britishers followed when they're hiring general managers. In those days, general managers were the senior most person in the companies. Chief executive officer is a American concept. This general manager selection, Mr. Goel, for a tea estate in Darjeeling, for example, the British owners will invite the husband and wife to the tea estate. They will spend 4, 5, 6 days there. Morning till evening, the owner, British owner, will observe them. This was true because they wanted to run the family-owned tea business by the Britishers through hired managers. So this is where I'm saying, if you want longevity, then you have to be that serious, that dedicated, that respectful to the business. Anything less, and you are asking for trouble.
Okay. You mentioned about the formula, success formula. People always say, and it's a very common thing to say, success formula is secret. Business success formula is always secret. Do you agree?
Today, you are at your best in asking difficult questions smoothly. Business formulas and secrecy, that is in the domain of intellectual property management, Mr. Goel. Technically, with my IAM education and with my self-education of entrepreneurship, I will classify this as an intellectual property management challenge. And this is one beautiful field where I want the young people, ambitious people to listen to us carefully, very carefully. 11:15, this again is a milestone moment. Intellectual property is what the wise men in the village tell. If the matter is between two people, only 4 ears have listened to it, it is confidential. The moment increases beyond 4 ears, that is 2 heads, then it is no more confidential. And therefore, your protection is gone. Anybody can now take away your baby, kidnap it, and do whatever that person pleases. So the formula must be followed, and today that is what is very important. Our young people get a engineering degree in computer science. They start working on an app, and what they do is they go and apply for an intellectual property patent. That is an intangible virtually. If you don't print your code, or if you print and keep between husband and wife or two friends, it is confidential. But what they do is file for patent. Patent law requires they have to file the application, disclose a lot of information. It is declared, notified, and everything. And any intelligent man, I know many of those examples, who are continuously scanning the applications, and they take the idea. I said 11:15 important, so let me hammer this point by telling you the example of the 4 daughters of the king, 4 princesses. You must have heard the story. A king had 4 daughters, and that funny characteristic. The eldest one, if you told her anything once, she will remember it. The second one, if she heard it twice, she will remember it. The third one, if she hears for the 3 times, she'll remember it. Fourth one, if she hears 4 times, she remembers it. And the rest of the story is known to you. So the moment you file the patent, these fellows read it. They're like the eldest daughter, and they can replicate it and become your potential competitor. They will have an advantage. That's why I'm very serious about this question. You did the initial development work, so you had to pay a developer. Crores of rupees you paid as salary to the team. They're costly people. I, who saw the patent application, have not spent that crore rupees. So my crore is saved. I can use it on marketing and beat you hollow. So be very careful. Your success formula should be protected like Coca-Cola does it. They have written the recipe for the concentrate. They have not patented. They keep it in a safe locker, and the inheritor of the family business gets the access to that one. That is the way to protect intellectual property. Now the question is the patent and trademark. Those are tangible assets. The way you write media conferences like Goel, if you apply for a trademark registration, you'll get it. You can't patent it. So there must be a very good hard skill and soft skill for managing intellectual property to protect your hard work and the organization which you create. If you plan to give your business to your children, then it is your responsibility to listen to everything which I said very seriously and manage. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. San. So according to you, we should not apply for the registration, IP registration or trademark registration or patent any product of ours because we do not want to disclose our formula?
It is not that simple, Mr. Goel. Please don't make the straight answer also very simple answer. You see what? I made a distinction of intangible and tangible asset. So if it is intangible and you apply for a patent, you have to concretize it, it becomes tangible. Don't make that mistake. A software is developed in 3 stages. Those who are software engineers will agree with me. One is the broad concept, and then the next one is algorithm, and the final stage is the code. So the first one, abstract one, is actually equivalent to software architecture. Next one is algorithm, and then is the code. When you are filing your patent, file the patent only for the code, not for algorithm and architecture. Those ones you keep like Coca-Cola family in the locker, give only to yours. Am I clear to you, sir?
Yeah, of course. I got it. But the only thing is that how many people can be successful to keep this formula secret? Because what we have seen, and I think one of the reason of failure of startups can be attributed to this also, because many times it happens as entrepreneur, the new entrepreneur or a startup fellow who comes out with a new idea, and then he discuss, and he has to discuss because he has to convince the angel investor as well as the venture capitalist. And once you have to explain to them, they want to know each and everything because they are not aware about the new ideas, what you are going to do. So in many times it happens that without knowing, unintentionally, they discuss those areas of the business which those smart chaps of angel investors and venture capitalists catch, and that's where the competitor comes as soon as you come out with your thing. And as you rightly said, that you have to invest lots of money to develop something, and the new person who is coming, he will beat you. What do you say about that?
Again, mark the clock in our discussion today. This is the most important point that two of us are now deliberating upon together. And for this moment, this thought leadership program should become memorable and a milestone one. You see, n number of people are willing to give me equity capital, n number of people are giving me debt capital, and if they come back and ask me, if you don't tell me about your software A to Z, I will not develop trust for you, I will not give the money. This is the challenge. Now, there are many kind of idiots in this world. You know, as a businessman, you have met all those types. If somebody comes and says, please give me your Draupadi because you have lost her in a game of gamble. Only myself am to blame. Why is take Draupadi? Draupadi being my software architecture, Draupadi being my algorithm, Draupadi being my code. There are 3 Draupadis here. I will be the idiot to mention Draupadi, the architecture. That is my property. I don't even tell a second person. I don't even tell my wife. I don't tell the closest associate. I sit down and break it down to the algorithm, and then I give it to whether it is a co-founder or whether it is a hired software engineer or another angel. That this is the algorithm. If they say what architecture it comes from, I said, mind your business. Talk architecture, don't talk algorithm. When you develop your software, then you talk about the architecture. I'm not telling you about my architecture, and mind your business. You see, you have done it many times in negotiation with banks. So it is done that way. If I don't know that there are 3 Draupadis, then I lose all 3. This is the most important thing. Looking at the clock, every young person can find you, Mr. Goel, can find me and protect the intellectual property and not lose all the investment on that one to an intelligent competitor through filing of the patent. I see many patent applications where lawyers know hard skill, they don't know this soft skill, intellectual property management. And it is not on the introduction which you have made it, but in 2003, as I mentioned, I was very impressed with the women entrepreneurs. And that's why I started that Jaipur Family Businessman Institute. Actually, you could have said Women Entrepreneurship Institute. But I did not put that one. I didn't want to limit it. And you know what? I went to BITS Pilani, Birla Institute of Technology and Science Pilani. They organize a 5-day intellectual property management workshop with the top experts from different field. When BIT does it with a style. And I went as a participant. I had to really persuade my top management to free me. I had to run everything. I said, in the daytime, I'll attend the program. I'll drive 2.5 hours. I'll come to the campus. In the night, I will do the college work. Next day, I will go. You get my point, Mr. Goel? I worked 2 shifts in those 5 days, but I got that expertise. Then I taught myself in the last 20 years, and this is where I am, giving the benefit of those 20 years of work for the hearing of those people who want to protect their most precious asset to the level Coca-Cola does it, not less. Thank you for asking this question.
Thank you, Dr. Sharan. Now, when we are talking of secrecy, we are talking of the unique ideas. And you mentioned that many times one should not disclose to the spouse also.
Yes.
So now my question to you is, then what about the personal life of the entrepreneur? If you are hiding something, and I'm sure any entrepreneur, if they are doing some work seriously, their mind is engaged to develop a thing, which they are not interested to share with the spouse. I'm using the word spouse because earlier I used to work, we can use it as a wife, but nowadays spouse, because wife can also have the same thing. And so don't you think that the personal life will start, because definitely a spouse will not think that, okay, you are busy in that, that's why you are not giving time. So my question to you is, do entrepreneurs have their any personal life left, or they are married and only married to the new venture or the business which they are developing, and they are not taking any responsibility or of their own family? What do you say about this, Doctor?
Allow me to compliment you. Today, you are at your brilliant best in asking the question. You began by asking one thing and moved to the second related part and made the question beautiful. You first began by telling the espoused aspect of sharing secrets, and then you came to personal life and professional life, balance of work life. The two are so intimate, you couldn't have asked a better question. So today, for some reason, maybe you are with Mrs. Goel and family, so you are at your best. I don't know the reason, but the fact is, this is another beautiful question. Listen to me carefully now. You see, any human being to a businessman is a matter of suspicion. Like a scientist always looks at a fact with a skepticism, a business person should look at all the blood relatives, marriage relatives, friends with healthy skepticism. Very critical. That's why I said, listen to me carefully. Healthy skepticism, not a paranoia. That's the other side of bad thing. That is my point, answer number 1. Then second thing is, today I know that if in 1997, November, December, January, in a company which I created, which was 6,000 crore in Indian rupee for a Dutch multinational to bring mobile telephone in India, and that was my first major business creation activity in life. I worked for 100 hours a week for 3 weeks continuously, so much so that my mother, the day I came, she said, make sure whether you want us to stay with you or you want to stay alone here. And then I told my office, I cannot continue doing that one. This is the second aspect. It's extremely difficult. Today, if I were building that same company, 6,000 crore company, Mr. Goel, I will not put 100 hours. I will put 70 hours max. But I will hire 2 assistants, which I did after my mother threatened me. I will do it right at the beginning. So this is what it is. The second part of yours is, in our entrepreneur journey, we learn, sometimes we say we should have respected family more, given them little more. After all, what is all the wealth and name and fame if the family is the paying party? This is my personal answer. Everybody will have to take their own call. They will have to find their balance. But I'm very grateful to you for asking this one. For the secrets one, healthy skepticism. For balance one, please make sure that you define your dream correctly. Let your dream not become nightmare for your family. This is a humble submission from a man who has seen it all. I hope the younger people who are trying to get into this universe will remember my words and benefit from it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saran. And yes, you rightly mentioned about the secrecy. When I started my first work, so the senior person, my mentor, he told me only one formula, and he says, what your right hand is doing, your left hand should not know. So one can understand that one has to be a bit secretive, but as you rightly mentioned, how to balance your family life, it is very, very important, because if you are not satisfied mentally, if you are having tensions, family tensions or stress, then definitely it will suffer. Your work will suffer. So my question to it now related to it is, a successful entrepreneur is only those whose family lives are quite good or successful or peaceful or non-interfering, and that's why they could devote more time to develop an entrepreneurship and create an empire. Or is it a myth?
Very difficult question. So we will go part by part of the question. You do need a healthy family, because if the family is not healthy, you will not be getting what you need most, the 3 hours of sleep every night. If you are not sleeping that minimum 3 hours every night, then your cognitive functions, the biological functions, will not be at their desired level for being an entrepreneur. Let me not give the impression to anybody that of all the things, entrepreneurship is the most exalted level of work for any individual. And therefore, you owe it to yourself that you keep yourself physically, biologically at the level demanded by entrepreneurship. An employee can not, give himself enough sleep and come to office. If he is 60% at cognitively, I as a owner observe him and then build checkpoints, because I am the one who will lose the profit. This fellow will increase the cost. He does not mind increasing my cost. Even if he's ethical, the fellow will hide it. Artha Satya he will speak. He'll become Yudhishthir. He will blow the conch after saying Ashwathama Hato. When Ya Narova Kunjiro has to be said, he'll blow the conch. That fellow can get away. That is his life. That is the reality. That is the universe. I don't have the privilege. Equity is residual amount on the balance sheet. If all the assets have been paid for, only then if something remains, it is my equity. We know that one, I own it. And therefore, Mr. Goel, the answer to yours is, I must have a father, either biological or two of us are fathering many entrepreneurs, hopefully. My father, when I got married, he told me, this is arranged marriage. And whenever you have a bad moment with your wife, you'll come back and tell me, what father, what kind of, wife you gave me. Don't come and tell me. You are grown up. Remember, you are called bridegroom. She is the bride. So groom her to the way you like to be treated in life by her. Don't come crying to me. Similarly, every entrepreneur must groom every employee so that the maximum joy will come. And many a time, the family businesses, as in your case, they are not employees, they are owners, co-owners, and co-founders. So that way, they are all the more important. So final thing is, please don't go by the myth that entrepreneur's life is miserable. There is no work balance possible. To convince you that I am saying something sensible, I'll give you one example and a stop. The example is of a man who was in England. His brother wanted to marry an American girl. So in the wedding party, they went to America, East Coast. When wedding was happening, this younger brother got talking to the father-in-law of his brother, and he was in lawn business. So he said, aha, I can start this business in England. He started it. And when the business started growing, he had a franchise model. People said, you also expand into nurturing the lawns. And he refused. He said, I'll only maintain lawns. If there are bad lawns which need to be treated and cured, I will not get into that business. They asked, why? So many billion pounds of business is available. It is sitting for you. He said, look here. I want to run the business. I don't want the business to run my life. I only want to work for 3.5 days. I only want to work for 3.5 days in a week. Rest of the time, I want to spend on myself, on my wife, on my 2 children. I hold that in great respect. I read this story 27 years ago, Mr. Goel, and it has stayed with me. I have run my life with controlled ambition because I'm architect of our own life. Every one of us is. In that sense, we are all entrepreneurs for one venture. This is the principle I follow. This is the principle I want every entrepreneur to follow. Within a band, sacrifice family interest, not beyond the band. You are an example. You are in Mumbai. So you are following the principle which I set for myself.
Okay. But Dr. Saran, we have seen many successful businessmen, and even in politics also we have seen the successful business politicians. Even we have seen the successful artists. They were not married, or even they married, they have left their wife, and they are very successful. So my question to you is, a person who is single, lady or a man, is going to be more successful entrepreneur than a married person?
Very difficult to answer a straight way.
Can I give the example? I will give example. Ratan Tata, Narendra Modi, Rahul Gandhi, Lata Mangeshkar. Please go ahead.
Yes. Now, we can count them on the fingers, Mr. Goel. whereas all the Birlas were having a family. Tatas are one exception. I don't know how it has happened. But before this gentleman, they used to have biological children. In last few generations only they haven't had, because Parsis, because of inbreeding, have that biological curse on them. Okay. Other business houses like Singhanias, for whom I have a great respect, I worked for them. I learned scientific management practice from them. Theory I learned in Ahmedabad. The practice of scientific management I learned with Singhanias in 1980-84. So you see, coming to our principle of giving you a straight answer, the straight answer is this. If I am having a matured ego, which is not degenerating into hubris, I will never want to use my business success as a hammer to get agreement and consent from other family members, be it wife, be it her sister, be it her brother, be my children, or their spouses. Most of the time, the problem comes when the families themselves have the difference of opinion, who is contributing more. And that is where the Ambani's example comes into the front, Mr. Goel. Okay. So a happy married life among children is very helpful, though it is not a necessary condition. So my answer is yes. Staying single helps in success. You know, these musicians and politicians and the people of big business houses, there are exceptions, not the rule, according to me. You better find a compatible spouse than be without one. The pleasure is multiplied, as I know from my personal case. Without Mrs. Sharon being such a lovely partner, without Mrs. Goel being such lovely partner, I'm sure our joys would have been reduced. So we will rather say, have a happy family.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sharan, for giving these compliments and mentioning very clearly, yes, this is right, that you require a family, then only, because you will get new ideas, you will be knowing many things which a lone person cannot. And when you are an entrepreneur, especially when an entrepreneur, you require to know what is happening around the world. Now, my question, there is a myth that whosoever is a successful entrepreneur or who is an entrepreneur, they all are very rich, super rich. Successful is super rich, otherwise you are rich. Is it a myth or fact?
It is a myth. It is very much a myth. And all you need to do is, I wanted to teach this lesson to my students who were wanting to become tech entrepreneurs in Pune, Symbiosis Institute. So I told them, go to this Hinjewadi Chowk, right-hand side 2 kilometers, left-hand side 2 kilometers, front 2 kilometers, back 2 kilometers, and you look at the business people and give me a report. That was the assignment. And when the report came, presentations happened, Mr. Goel, the very rich entrepreneurs were very few. The guys who were able to meet their daily need by running a hardware shop, a shoe shop, a garment shop, were the rule. So we will summarize by saying, not all entrepreneurs are croropatis. They don't earn lakh rupees every day. It is very much a myth that entrepreneurs have lots of money.
Okay. Now, we have seen that many of the youth, those who have the upbringing in such way that they feel that they do not want anybody to be their boss. And in that context, they want to be entrepreneur. So now, if an entrepreneur, whosoever become entrepreneur, do you think he will or she will be the boss of that entire business or enterprise, or it is a myth again?
It is a very dangerous myth, Mr. Goel. In my life, I have had the highest frustration with this kind of young people or even middle-aged people who thought that they are into business because they want to be their own boss. What they have failed to do is simple basics have been violated by this false notion that I'm my own boss. First and foremost, Mr. Goel, people don't buy what I sell. People buy what they want. I wanted to say some conviction, some principle. You wanted to say some principle. We could say on this program of leadership, thought leadership, but people are not buying that one. They will buy what they want. And therefore, to these businessmen who or businesswomen who think they are their own boss because they have started their business, let them remember, investors, be they debt investors from bank or be they equity investors from the share market, customers, general public for that matter today is so conscious. You have to be environmentally sensitive. You cannot keep on polluting the environment. All those people are to be listened to just the same way we listen to our bosses. Even if they're not literal bosses, practical bosses are there for the businessman also. If you develop a listening ear, then you are rewarded. If you are deaf, you are punished. Keep that in mind.
Okay. Now the last question, although I want a straight answer, but in bit details. Because although myths and facts, so you have given many answers. How to become a successful entrepreneur?
How to become a successful entrepreneur? First and foremost,
Or I will say, what qualities an entrepreneur require to become a successful entrepreneur?
First and foremost, have many gurus, teachers. For example, you were a child yourself, you are your own guru. Remember your childhood avatar first. Because in childhood, when you saw a butterfly, you forgot your hunger, you forgot your comfort, you chased it, you saw it is going from flower to flower. Why it is important? Because one day your parents will send you to school. One day your teacher will tell that the butterfly has a body part which it uses to suck the nectar from the flower. So the overall thing is, the entrepreneur is like that butterfly which knows who has the nectar and has the soft skill to persuade the flower, I'll help you pollinate, you give me the win-win. So every entrepreneur, the moment he or she learns that every relationship with customers, with employees, with vendors, with buyers, everything is, I have to teach myself how to give so that the person gives back willingly. Irrespective of all your philosophical ideas, irrespective of all your errors in economics and political science, irrespective of all the flaws that you have, if you have this one thing in you, Mr. Goel, that whenever I'm talking to a human being, let me be like that butterfly which says, I will give you pollination, so you will form seeds, you will benefit, and you will give me nectar with which I'll get energy. I'll live my life, pollinate other flowers. This mutual thing, Mr. Goel, according to me, is summary of the 40 years of learning. God may make me right.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saran, and I am really happy to get the answers from you. And it's sometimes I try to throw a googly on you, but the way you have replied, and especially all the answers, but the last answer which you have given about the nectar, I will say I am not an entrepreneur or I am not successful entrepreneur, but I could take out the nectar from you because I know that you are full of nectar. I tried. I don't know whether I have become successful today or not, because
You have been
what
successful.
we are doing in this thought leadership program is to bring those thought leaders who have tremendous knowledge, experience, those who have seen the life, but because many reasons they could not expose themselves. And that's why Media Conference with Lal Goel has taken a conscious decision to bring out those persons, try to ask the questions, many times difficult questions, but the way they reply. And this, our thought leadership series is coming known to many of the institutions, and they are praising this particular format for the reason that the experience which, like Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran is having, he is giving those things to the expressing his views, and in turn these views are going to be beneficial for all the youth who are planning to be entrepreneur or who are planning to be a successful entrepreneur or a businessman. And the way he has explained today, I'm sure it is going to benefit many of the youth, even those who are not youth, like me, who are not a youth, a senior citizen. But the way he has explained, that is what our endure is. That is what we want, and that's for that we require full cooperation and your suggestions if you still want to improvise anything. Now, in the end of the program, Dr. Sudhir Saran, I would like you to give 1 minute to summarize today's program.
The entrepreneurship is the most noble work a moral person can do. I have highest regard for those who take this work, and my hats off to those people who are doing it conscientiously. I will urge every people to support them. हम लोग कहते हैं support तन मन धन. All three forms we are supposed to support them. Make it easy for them. In some societies, they get natural respect. In our society, business is put at the third place. We should change that belief. My father used to say, these things like farming is the best profession, next best is business, third is salary, and begging is the worst occupation. Let us say that the farming and business are the best. Thank you very much. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, for giving your views. And so, viewers, you have seen today how Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran has replied all my straight questions with a straight bat. And in one of the questions, he honestly said that more research are required. So this is the quality of a thought leader. So thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Karu News, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Gyan, as well as was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And in our endeavor to bring to you everyday new topic in Media Conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Tomorrow, our topic is the value of international internship. And our panelists are Professor Mohanlal Agrawal, President Indo-Gulf Management Association, Dubai, Dr. Urvashi Makkar, Director IMS Ghaziabad, Dr. Rajiv Bhaduria, Chief Mentor Garware High Tech Films Limited, Mumbai, Miss Margarita Andreeva, Freelance Business Education Consultant, Dubai, UAE. So please tune in tomorrow for Media Conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, for enlightening all of us, all our viewers, including me, with your very candid and very specific and very straight answers for my straight questions. Hope today's program is been liked by our viewers, and thank you viewers for watching our show, and we hope that you are getting whatsoever the little knowledge which we were imparting, you are getting it. In case if you want to put your comments, you can put to any of our media channels inbox so that it will reach to us and we will try to improvise that. Thank you.